demonstratively introduce themselves. Sekgabo?
All right, thank you so much, Festus. I'm very excited to be a part of this. My name is Sekgabo Seselamarumo from Botswana, and I am an HIV activist, advocate, and I'm also a scientist and content creator who uses social media for digital advocacy. I am also a co-founding peer leader for Botswana's first ever network of young people living with HIV.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's move to Lisa.
Okay, hi everyone, and I would like to start by saying thank you so much, Festus, for this invitation. I'm so proud and excited to be here with superstars like you and Sekgabo. I see your work and I'm so proud of you all. My name is Adaobi Olisa from Nigeria. I'm a very passionate advocate supporting access and choice for HIV prevention options, especially among young people. I've supported various PEPFAR and USAID funded projects on HIV interventions for both general and key populations, especially. I've also been privileged to participate and support various global advocacy platforms like the IAS Vaccine and Cure Fellowships, where I met the amazing Sekgabo and Festus and others, the AVA Clinical Trial Design Academy, where I also met Sekgabo as well, and CROI Community Educator Scholarship Program, where I met Sekgabo. So I guess we're doing this together as a team. But yeah, the highlight of my career has been working on the Mosaic project, and as we go on, I'll share more. Our Mosaic project was everything. It was like the love of my life at the time, and we were supporting the introduction of the new long-acting PrEP products across 10 countries in Africa. I was a member of the Mosaic Next. I am still a member, regardless, always and forever, of the Mosaic Next Gen Squad, and a group of youth advocates from 9 countries that ensure that the policies and perspectives of young people, especially adolescent girls and young women, were really front and center in our work. I'll stop there for now, but yeah, in a nutshell, that's who I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, and that was great. And it's so good to have you. So, to our listeners, we hear from our guests already. So, like I told you, Minority Voices podcast is where we talk health and human rights. So, HIV vaccine research is evolving, and advocacy plays a key role in the accessibility and impact of HIV vaccine. What we have in common this platform is Lisa, Sekgabo, and myself are fellows of the International AIDS Society HIV Vaccine Advocacy Academy. We are all fellows. So it's good to have. And today we are going to help you to what firstly what inspired Lisa and Sekgabo get into the HIV vaccine or HIV advocacy area. Anybody can start?
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
So, with
Sekgabo, do you want to start?
what inspired me most was the fact what inspired me was the fact that I'm a young person living openly with HIV, and I started treatment when I was still young. This year, I'll be on treatment for about 22 years now, and we haven't still found like a proper clear functional cure yet, and also the medication we still have to take it every day. So one of the things that inspired me was the fact that I was like, what if we could have something like a vaccine, maybe a yearly vaccine or something for us to stop taking medication every day and even work towards a cure. So that's something that mostly inspired me to go into this space. And also when it comes to HIV vaccine, is that I want to see more young people in the space advocating for HIV vaccines as well as policies in our different countries, because most we see that it's very it's the older generation that is there, and I would like to see more young people and young scientists advocating for vaccines, and also just pushing for an HIV vaccine that is going to be equitable for our African continent.
Amazing.
Lisa?
Thank you, Sekgabo. So for me, I'm a pharmacist. I'm sure you guys are surprised. I don't know if you know I'm a pharmacist, but
I'm just
so
hearing
I
it for
just
the
have
first time.
I don't say it a lot. So I have a natural inclination for health interventions, but the two major reasons that fuel my passion for HIV advocacy, firstly, stigma. I just hate stigma and discrimination against people living with HIV and anything related to HIV as a whole. I believe that stigma actually limits life-saving services, limits access to life-saving services, and in some cases, the stigma even kills faster than the HIV itself. So I think we really need to address stigma, and I strongly believe that ignorance is the root of stigma. If people can be aware of the progress we have made, for example, you equals to you, undetectable equals to untransmittable, aware that we have step methods now that people can take to prevent HIV, and we have made so much progress even towards a vaccine and a cure. I really believe that we can defeat stigma and move closer to epidemic control. And then my second reason is ensuring that young people have a seat at the table. I'm very passionate about pushing young people forward, youth voices forward, because I believe that young people are innovative and we have a very critical role needed for sustainability of interventions broadly, not just HIV, but global interventions, because we're leaders of today and also leaders of tomorrow. But specifically for HIV, young people still bear a huge burden of new acquisition. In 2023, according to UNAIDS, one in every four new HIV acquisition was among young people. So it's really important that young people are involved in shaping the decisions, shaping the strategies that we're going to use to eventually achieve epidemic control. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for putting that in Sekgabo. So yes, for me, I'm impacted in in ways, but I think what inspired me to do it is not just about the science, which is the science is right. And for me, as a person, every day learning and understanding the science and how to come to conclusion about it. But what really inspired me is about people, policy, and everything. In fact, so the partnership that we want partner having a lot to do. But in terms of impact that we want you to inspire us, especially with that inspire you to get into to like make advocacy. And one thing is key is the community. And community with the community we need to build trust, foundation, for success. That the advocacy vaccine required. My question is, how do you strengthen our advocacy with the community? Young people, key population, and
Was that question directed to me?
is it?
Or
Yes,
okay. For me, I think it's about first increasing awareness. I think awareness is a major gap for young people, key populations, because for you to be able to make a difference, you have to have the knowledge, the tools, the strategies You have to know how to push for the change you want to see. You can't just go randomly and start shouting on the streets. So we have to empower young people. And when I say empowerment, I know what comes to mind is like money or aid, but no, like we have to empower young people with the skills, the knowledge, the resources. Yes, they're important. The platforms are also very important as well to be able to contribute to the decisions, high level decisions. How are young people carried along in policy decisions at local level, at global levels? How are they contributing? How much knowledge do they have to contribute? How are we telling them this is where we are right now? How are we translating it, the science, the conference presentations that are very scientific? How are we taking back the knowledge to them in a way that they can understand, they can relate to it in their lives, and then say, oh, this is what will work for us based on these studies, based on what the science is saying. This will be the best way to translate the science to real life. So I believe like empowering them through educating them, increasing awareness, simplifying the science in a way that they can understand and make decisions with, and giving them these platforms to be able to make the decisions. I think, for example, platforms like the IS Vaccine and Cure Advocacy Academy is helping to do that. IMPACT is doing a lot of work around strengthening community involvement, like empowering communities with the different tools they need so that they can go back to their communities and also empower other people, which is what we're doing now. We met through the Vaccine Academy, and here we are trying to share the knowledge we gained through a podcast. Sekgabo does her thing on TikTok. I do blogs, doing different things just to get the knowledge out there and to help other people in the community, young people, key populations to know that they have a voice, and these are the ways they can actually make a change in their community. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And history has proven, that medical breakthrough means little. They don't reach to those who need them. So the community, the advocacy, are the means of which those who need the information or the breakthrough the message they will get. And I'm glad you mentioned, yes, the IAS. I was use this platform to be actually creating the opportunity for young people and advocates to be able to reach for those who really need information. That is cool. Capo, do you want to tell me with relations to
Yes.
friendship to engagement?
Pardon, I didn't get that. All right, let's this.
Yes, can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yes, I didn't get the last part of the question.
So the question was about unity and building trust to have success advocacy, advocacy with the community. Those who need the outreach the most, medical breakthrough the most. How do we build? How do we do community strengthening?
Oh no, my internet is just going down. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yes, I can hear you.
Not so loud.
Oh no, because I didn't get his question. I didn't get the question.
Oh, can you hear me? So I can repeat the question. Can you hear me, Sekgabo?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so Festus's question was, how do we get communities, increase community advocacy, for example, young people, populations, how do we engage them more in advocacy efforts?
Okay, I'm thinking. So in terms of engaging community, I think that one of the things that we need to do, especially for young people, is to use mediums where they are keen to get in the information or where they spend most of their time. This being social media, the use of social media, you can then share the information or just share some of the things that will make them interested or curious about HIV vaccine or just HIV advocacy through relevant language, for example, using means that they understand, using the language that they understand. In that way, we create interest and also just curiosity, and for them to read more and want to be part of communities or global communities that are into these platforms or these spaces of HIV advocacy and HIV research. And also sometimes also why we see the lack of young people or communities in the HIV space is because generally people do say that this is science and science is hard, and which is true because even some of the like researches that I shared, it's mainly online or even at conferences, they use big words that are difficult for people to understand. So that's why people are not really interested in, like, for example, HIV vaccines. So if we simplify this language to community language, then we will be able to have more interest in young people who want to be part of this and who want to amplify the youth voices and also just to work in policies, because sometimes we even lack policy makers in our countries who are now well informed about HIV vaccines and who are also going to start now speaking to these issues or these gaps that are there in our health systems or in just our country laws, saying that we need to be having, for example, HIV cure research, which also in turn has a very close linkage with HIV vaccines. So if we have those people, then they understand that's one of the ways or some of the ways of how we can have them into this advocacy and just using platforms that they use. For example, like what we're doing now with podcasting, and also some still listen to radio. So depending on the communities and country that you're in, you should be using platforms where people are found. You know, like for example, in Botswana, people use Facebook a lot. So they're part of my advocacy, for example, I'll be using Facebook to get to the people that are so much into using Facebook. So these are some of the ways on how you can bring in people, community members, young people, and some of our policymakers.
Yes, thank you so much, Ricardo. This is exactly what we are intending to do at Minority Voices. We've created this podcast, this platform to be able to give advocates, researchers, and scientists the opportunity to be able to come and give the message to to our audience, those who will be following through social media, listening to podcasts. And it is not just opportunity for them to come to talk, but also the science so that in the Liberian parlance we say the layman be able to understand. How can I and then African in Liberia explain the process of, for an example, the Berlin patient to a common Liberian person. So this is the opportunity we are creating so that we can have this conversation. And then the good thing is that this platform, you can be able to display your work, you can be able to have a chart display, or graph display, show pictures of some of the things that is going on in the world today. This leads me to for 2025. Both of you are just back from Pure 2025. Welcome back, guys. And I know you have a blissful time in the US. Was it's good to have you back. Now, I want to start with research. What are the most promising updates from the country?
Okay. For me, I think CROI was very exciting. It was great to be at CROI, especially with the current global health funding crisis we're experiencing. It provided a space where community, the global HIV community, came together to, reflect on our progress so far, talk about the challenges, and be inspired by the science. But what was most exciting for me was how fast the science of HIV prevention is moving. At CROI, there were so many new HIV prevention options, biomedical HIV prevention options, PrEP methods that are going fast, and most of them are entering into clinical trials, which means they are coming to reality fast. And what excited everybody the most was the talk of lenacapavir. There are two different formulations now. So there's one that is taken twice a year, every 6 months, and then there's a new one which the data was presented at CROI that will be taken once a year. And this is like the closest thing that we may have. I think my network is fluctuating. First, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I think just
Okay, you can hear me. Okay, I think it's from first end. So I'll just continue to save time. So, like I was saying, yeah, everyone is excited about lenacapavir, very long acting, potentials for it to last up to a year, and different options that are incoming, like the Merck once monthly pill. But what struck me the most and what broke my heart the most is that the funding crisis happened at the time where countries are actually poised. Countries were just beginning to be able to offer choice for HIV prevention. You know, they were just starting to offer choice like the PV ring, the CAB, and oral PrEP were beginning to be available in most African countries, and now the funding crisis, the service delivery disruptions, especially for PrEP, threatens all that progress. And if we lose that progress, we may not be able to optimize the potential of these new products that are so exciting, that are going to push us further towards HIV epidemic control. So, my major take home message is the big question is how can we ensure equitable rollout and access to the new and existing products? How can we ensure that the momentum that we have gained in HIV prevention space, including vaccine research, including cure research, and the new PrEP options are not lost? I'll just quote a quote that I read from an article last year by Maya Milan of Becky Shisha. Mitchell Warren in the article, who is the executive director of AVAC, and he's like my real-time hero today, leading the fight, to reverse the funding freeze. In that article, he said it's going to take policymakers, funders, and communities getting together to decide that we want to get to zero in real life. We need speed, we need scale, we need price, we need equity. But most of all, we need all hands on deck right now to save the HIV prevention space. And that was my major highlight from CROI. We need the science and real life to be at par to ensure that science translates to real world impact. Thank you. I'll stop there for now. Allow
Yes, thank you so much, Lisa. So, Sekgabo, I want to know, coming from fall 2025, is there any breakthrough research looking to HIV vaccine? Sekgabo, can you hear me?
Would you like me to repeat the question?
Hello? Oh, so before she comes on, Lisa, Can you
Probably they
take the
were.
question?
Yeah, I can. Before Sekgabo comes in. So first off, like what we learned at the academy. We learned that vaccines will be a critical tool to end HIV epidemic. With vaccines, we have been able to eradicate smallpox, and even other diseases have been eliminated through the use of vaccines. So vaccines are very important. But at CROI, they were this message was reiterated that we need vaccines, mostly because 40% of new HIV acquisitions in Southern and Eastern Africa are among people who do not meet the criteria for PrEP, which is pre-exposure prophylaxis, the use of antiretroviral medication to prevent HIV negative people from acquiring HIV, right? So we have PrEP options now, but we still need vaccines because we're seeing 40% of new HIV acquisitions among people who don't meet criteria, who cannot take PrEP. But they were talked about from CROI, there were different talks about combination of broadly neutralizing antibodies. And just to break the science down, like we're saying, from the um, Vaccine Advocacy Academy, I learned that broadly neutralizing antibodies are antibodies um, that can destroy a broad strain of HIV um, virus in the body. So some people are able to produce antibodies that can destroy a broad strain of HIV virus. The regular antibodies that we produce are targeted to one specific strain, but some people are able to produce an antibody that can target different strains of the virus. And as the virus replicates, it produces different strains. So that has been a challenge. The normal antibodies are not able to fight the different strains, but now we have found broadly neutralizing antibodies. However, what I got from CROI is that we may need to combine different types of broadly neutralizing antibodies to have the expected vaccinal effect. So there were studies that have been done on one broadly neutralizing antibody, VRC701, and while it showed effect on some strains, it was not able to clear all the strains. So they went further to combine two different types of broadly neutralizing antibodies, and it showed higher efficacy, but it was still not able to clear off all the strains of the different HIV viruses. And now they are going further to combine three. So that is what we're learning. They are learning as the science is progressing, they're seeing, oh, this is working, but it's not able to give us what we want. So they are going further to combine three broadly neutralizing antibodies. And even at CROI, they are even using broadly neutralizing antibodies now in combination with long-acting HIV treatment options. For example, we saw studies combining broadly neutralizing antibodies with lenacapavir for HIV treatment, which was very exciting. And even for cure, there were broadly neutralizing antibodies that were presented as part of studies for HIV cure, like the fresh trial that was making waves on social media that was done in South Africa among Black women. So it was a cure study where they used broadly neutralizing antibodies. They tested if it could cure people who were newly infected with HIV, and we saw promising results that 20% of the people who received those broadly neutralizing antibodies were able to have viral suppression without antiretroviral therapy for about a median of 1.5 years. So this was very promising. They were able to control the virus in their system without taking any HIV medication with broadly neutralizing antibodies. It was just 20%. Other people in the study were not able to control, but promising. It's telling us that we're possibly in the right direction and showing us places we need to improve and strategies we need to continue exploring. So yes, broadly neutralizing antibodies were a major highlight for me at CROI. And then other strategies are also being employed, like the messenger RNA technology that we learned um, at the academy festival. Maybe you can break that down. But yeah, there are so many strategies I can go
Yes.
on and on. But the highlight from CROI for me was BNAV, called BNAV, guys, broadly
Yes.
neutralizing
And,
antibodies.
as you go on, it just refresh my mind back to the advocacy fellowship academy. That was the first time I believe I heard about BIM. Yes, and I'm so excited to learn more, and I'm glad that the opportunity is this. That a lot of young people will be able to understand these things, and they will be able to know more. And as we go on, we can talk more about these things. I'm glad to hear that since the vaccine advocacy academy have done progress made in utilizing DNAs in HIV prevention in cities. Do you think we have Sekgabo back?
Sekgabo, can you hear us now? Let me try to
Yes.
text you. Oh, welcome back. So first of all,
Yes,
what
Sekgabo,
was your
can you hear me?
highlight?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, please. So what's the highlight? What was your takeaway from tour 2025?
Okay, for me, for 2025, it was actually my first tour in person. Last year I attended separate, so attending in person and meeting everyone else was quite exciting for me. And more than that, meeting everyone now in times where there is so much happening in the political space when it comes to funding and just the HIV response, just going there to meet everyone and also to learn about the future of the HIV response was quite exciting for me and it was a great experience. And my greatest takeaway was that um, with the latest studies, they show that broadly neutralizing antibodies, the BNAbs that Lisa has been talking about, they show very promising results, especially when it comes to long-term HIV prevention, like being used in lenacapavir. That now the studies show that instead of having to take every 6 months, people can now have just one shots for these long-acting injectables a year. And this also shows that you can also use that knowledge to now go into HIV vaccines, to use these BNAbs to find vaccines that are working. And also, one of the BNAbs also were used in the first study that stated that we are seeing that when it comes to now the HIV response, it looks as if BNAbs are sort of like the future, or we're going to use BNAbs to find maybe a cure or even a possible vaccine. Like in the first study, what they used, this was a study done in young women who are highly um, who are at high risk of contracting the virus. And after diagnosis in 2 weeks, then they started this. They started treatment. They started ARV treatment as well as relapse and getting a booster. So they got this for 5 weeks, and then they stopped taking, or the treatment was interrupted. It was stopped altogether. And this study, then they were monitored because they were monitored for 1.5 years to see if at all the HIV virus is going to increase or not. And out from this report, 20% of them, which is, I believe it was 4 of the participants, the clinical trial participants, did not show any more of HIV increasing in their body. So they were completely sort of like cured of HIV through control. And it's not really a cure, but yeah, it's more of a control through the treatment that we got the first 5 weeks infection. They managed to control this virus for 1.5 years. So this also shows that labs could be a contributing factor, or just that this contributes towards an HIV cure, and it shows that these four participants, they need to be studied more, so that we need to understand how exactly it works, how the immune systems are working, the labs and the treatment, how or it that we're able to stay for that long without having the virus increasing in double. And also the other thing about CNAP is that in children, we know that when children are born, their immune system is just developing and they're able to fight disease because of these antibodies. So also it shows that some of the researchers and abstract presentations did show that DNABs could be, or DNABs are immune changes, especially in children, that you might actually find an HIV cure using DNABs in children way quicker than in adults. That children apparently somehow, I don't know, there's just something about the body or the immune system and the use of DNABs towards an HIV cure. And ultimately, just using DNABs, it means that you can also use these in HIV vaccines. So these are just some of the ways on how these labs or these body neutralizing antibodies are working, or are showing results that we are actually working towards potentially global HIV cure and even vaccine using these labs, as well as long-term HIV preventions, like we are currently using long-acting injectables. So that was quite exciting to see that we are going somewhere. And also the other exciting thing that I did learn from CROI is the integration of AI, artificial intelligence, when it comes to vaccine development, that will also accelerate us finding or working towards a HIV vaccine and even a cure. That with AI, things are going to be easier, or things are going to be faster for us to do machine learning. So that will some of my takeaways from CROI.
Yes, and thank you so much. And I think we'll do an episode on AI, go AI play in HIV vaccine advocacy. We'll do that. But I'm so glad to hear that with all that is going on globally, with the freeze order on our funds, with the global political climate challenging it, it's so good to hear that our scientists and researchers are not giving up. They are putting in their time and effort, and they are working diligently to ensure that the road to 2030 is becoming more clearer. And we all know that in 2030 we anticipate zero new HIV infections. So I think we are on the right path. I think things are getting better, things are getting more clearer. And I think we as advocates and activists, we need to do more to ensure that with all that is going on, with all of the ups and downs and funding cases and all the political rigmaroles, that we should ensure that our work does not stop. We continue to reach out to the community, to provide them with the information, we continue to provide them with the services and access to the services, and also engage with policy makers to ensure that these services are provided in the agencies for people that will start and people to be dealing with. Thank you so much, Sekgabo and Lisa. Before we come to our challenges and to look at the barriers where the HIV vaccines access, I just want us to look at what happened today in history. So in 2009, the HIV vaccine trials network launched one of the first large-scale studies on HIV prevention. And also in 1968, on the day, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And this is a fresh reminder that advocacy and activism shape the world we live in today. So I'm only saying this as a reminder. It should be a motivation to us as advocates and activists to go beyond and do more because it does not start with us just continue to go ahead and do more with our advocacy and activism in HIV and in whatever human rights advocacy or work that we are doing. So, Sekgabo, since you are there, what are the biggest barriers to vaccine access in public globally or in Africa?
Okay, thank you, Festus. So when it comes to vaccine access, the challenges that are there is that you find that a lot of these pharma companies now, when they do these vaccines or injections, when it comes to clinical trials, they mostly that they do them in high income countries and just select a few countries in Africa to do clinical trials in. And when they do these clinical trials post that, you find that they don't even like bring those examples, let's say long acting injectables, they don't bring them to the community that were part of these clinical trials. It's just a matter of them writing reports and abstracts, research papers that these are the results, this is what's happening. And even though they don't even sell these in subsidized applied to the participating country. So this is one of the things that are limiting the access to community, but most importantly, it's the pricing is that it's very expensive, especially for the global south to afford those vaccines that are there or the long-acting injectables. So because of that now, access is very limited and only countries or high-income countries are able to access these vaccines or long-acting injectables and use them. But other than that, that's and also one of the things that are also limiting access is that sometimes these or clinical trials they're not inclusive of all the population. It's only just a few that are included in these clinical trials. For example, transgender that not clinical trials are not included in those, and some of them, like pregnant women, find that that excluded. So then, in the long term, it means that it means that vaccines or non-vaccine injectables, you can only be sure that they work in this particular population and not in others. And those are just some of the things that limit access in the different countries, and just the fact that some of these pharma companies also it's not they don't just give out licensing easily, and because of this now we don't have, for example, a lot of labs in Africa we can make these generics and sell them at a lower price, and also it just takes time for them to actually start selling out these generic licensing for the long-acting injectables or even vaccines. So then because of this, access is very limited, but most importantly, the most contributing or the or yeah, like one of the challenges that are contributing to access in Africa is the pricing. That the prices are very expensive, and you find that they charge in dollars. African countries don't have that money to be buying that, especially now we're seeing that the cutting funding, some of the countries actually from last year, for example, they had access to these long-acting injectables. For example, Zambia, because of the help from PEPFAR and other funding, other funding and companies and businesses and organizations. But now with the pull out of funding, especially with the USAID and PEPFAR, it means that a lot of these countries now won't have access to the funds that they're going to use to buy these long-acting injectables, for example, because these are the ones I'm predicting more to them, because they're the ones that we've been logging and buying for, or we've been buying. And then when it comes to HIV vaccines, they're still not yet clear, but also we should anticipate something like this happening, that won't be having access to them because we're buying them from pharma companies. And that's why now it's important for African countries to invest more money in HIV vaccine research in their countries, empower scientists, empower students to have or to develop that love for learning into science or HIV research and going into vaccine development, and even expand some of the resources that they have. Like, for example, in Botswana, we do vaccine development for foot and mouth, which is a disease in cows. So then through this, we can just make sure that we expand that facility that we have for foot and mouth vaccine development to now expand it and say that we're going to have the other side is going to be HIV vaccine research, bring in scientists, empower them, and then now inject the funds as African countries, as Botswana, we bring in our government, brings in the money, and then HIV vaccines can be developed. And also, just most importantly, have political will. If our governments don't have that political will to say that we're going to invest money or we're going to allow and partner with pharma companies to set up here in our countries for us to do these clinical trials, for us to do these HIV vaccine research development, then we will continue not having access to these products, to these long-acting injectables. So the most important part is for our countries to actually be the ones that are willing to also just work with regulatory authorities when it comes to clinical trials and just setting up labs and making sure that these labs are accredited and that WHO accredited and FDA approved and everything works out well. So most importantly, it's our government and money to buy these that are hindering us or that are causing this limited access to the new products that are being made.
Amazing.
Yes, okay, thank you, Sekgabo.
First,
We
if I
are
can
we're
just
really
add,
fast against time, so Lisa.
yeah, I just wanted to add to what Sekabo said. I completely agree. I don't know if you remember, but we talked about this during the academy when I was trying to say we should push more for local funding. So my message to advocate young people out there listening today is really to advocate to our government to build the infrastructure, to invest in our infrastructure to be able to conduct this research in our own country, to be able to produce these products in our own country, because that will drive down the price and increase access. If we have the infrastructure, of course, pharma companies will definitely want to produce. They want to make money, but the lack of the infrastructure, the necessary things they need to be able to produce it in our country is not available. And I remember our discussion at the academy. Faculty member Joyce took us back to the Abuja Declaration. She reminded us that in 2001, African Union member states agreed, they made a pledge to allocate at least 15% of our national budget to the health sector to improve healthcare and combat diseases like HIV, TB, and malaria. So now we need to hold our governments accountable. How much have we been able to uphold the Abuja Declaration? Now is the time. We are seeing that foreign aid is being withdrawn. Not just the US, other countries across board are withdrawing funding. They are reducing foreign aid drastically. Everybody is looking inward to support their own country's interests. So we have to support ourselves. We have to build, like Sekabo said, we have to build political will. We have to look inward, be able to fund things by ourselves. Even if we're not able to fund everything, at least we should be able to allocate 15% of our budget towards these exciting advancements in different fields, especially HIV, which has taken a major blow right now. I just wanted to point that out. And one exciting thing from CROI was that fresh study. another thing that was really exciting, why everybody was excited about the fresh study, was that it was the first time a cure trial was done in Africa, in South Africa. It was a cohort that ran for 10 years, and the study results show that it's actually possible to do this technical complex trials in Africa if we are able to build the infrastructure. Unfortunately, we have been taken aback by this funding crisis. So now we really need to hold our government accountable, show them the data, show them the evidence, show them that we will be left behind if we don't take ownership and build political will and invest in the infrastructure needed to support this advancement towards HIV prevention and cure research. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And I believe our government should go back to the Abuja Convention and live out to the pledges and declaration that we made. It is good to hear that we are making progress on the continent as we use the HIV vaccine trials and research. For our listeners, this has been the Minority Voices podcast. You can get involved and learn more about HIV vaccine by going on the IAS website and also reaching out to Chicago, Lisa, and myself. And comment on this podcast. Give us your view, what you think, young people from across the world, and also your advice on how we can make this better and how we can reach every year. So, Lisa in Chicago, we'll start with Lisa. Can we have a final word from me?
Yeah, thank you, Festus. This has been an interesting conversation, and I'm excited to see what comes up. I just want to say to the listeners, to the young people, the minority populations, the key populations, you have a voice. Use your voice, but use it strategically. Learn the science. Reach out to advocates like Festus, like Sekgabo, people who can break down the science into a way that you can understand. Try to follow the science so that when you're speaking to policymakers, when you're speaking to House of Representative members, you can use hard facts and you can provide the most relevant and most recent data to them. You have to stay woke. You have to stay woke, stay informed, follow the science, get tools for advocacy. Advocacy is not just about shouting or making noise, it's about being strategic, knowing how to craft your message for each stakeholder group, knowing the different stakeholders you need to reach out to, when you need to reach out to them. Is it at the point of policy development? Is it at the point where they are reviewing national policies? Is it at technical working groups? How do you break into these spaces? There are tools where you can learn advocacy, where you can learn more about advocacy online. And I'm sure Festus will share more about that. But use your voice and use it strategically. We are smart, we are innovative, and our voice matters. And we need to protect HIV prevention response because without HIV prevention, we cannot end HIV epidemic. Thank you. And that's over for me.
Thank you so very much, Lisa. Thank you very much for that. Remember, listeners, stay woke. And some of these links she's talking about, we look this video and this podcast. Follow our comment section. We're going to post some of these links. You'll be able to have easy access to this information. We have your parting comment.
Thank you. Well, my last point is for the advocates. We know that sometimes it can be intimidating, or if you enter a space like this, that you qualify, or that you're too young for this. My advice is to just say that go for it if you feel like this is something that you're going to do, or this is something that you love, you're interested in. Most importantly, having interest. If you're interested in, you will learn. And young advocates like me, Lisa, and you, Festus, we are here to just help you out. You can just connect to us, find us on social media. We will be keen to help you if you want to apply maybe for stuff, and we will also be sharing when opportunities come up, like the International AIDS Society, the vaccine fellowship, the HIV cure fellowship. When it comes up, we're going to be sharing those on our social media, and you can always apply. Or if you want to ask how to apply and just some sort of guidance, we are there to help you. And let us just make sure that you take the action to your voice to also be added towards this HIV vaccine. And I believe that we are actually very closer now more than ever to an HIV vaccine or an HIV cure, right? But that your advocacy or your voice is needed to ensure that we have access and equity in Africa. And there are also other platforms where you can also read and follow what's happening around the world, like AVAC, where you can read more about that. And also there's the Clinical Trial Design Academy, where it's just a group of Africans in different 10 African countries, where we're advocating for the fact that when these clinical trials are done in Africa, they're safe, and that we put community first, make sure that the safety comes first during these trials, beyond the trial, and also just advocating for access to say that after the trials, we need to be having these in African countries or at an affordable price, and just making sure that we as African countries have access to these interventions or these products that are made, and we need more young advocates to join us in this space. Thank you, Festus, for making this platform for us to come and just say, bring in more people, and we will be meeting at international conferences.
Yes.
Yes, and thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I hope we'll all be in Kigali. The
Yes.
IS HIV Summit Conference is July 13th to the 17th. You know the good thing, Lisa and Sekgabo?
What?
My birthday is on July 17th, so we are all going to be celebrating my birthday together. That means a lot.
Wow, I can't
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you for being the first guest on the first episode of the Minority Voices podcast. This means a lot. Like I told you before, you guys did well. I love you so much. I hope we can do this some other time. So appear on other episodes as we go on. So to our listeners, continue to follow us. Please subscribe to this podcast and comment, like, and share. If you want more information, if you want to get involved in international conferences and get information, you can learn more about HIV vaccine, HIV advocacy, and the progress we are making in the world today on the road to 2020. Follow us, like my colleague said. This was a great opportunity. I look forward to watching this video myself and listening to the podcast over and over and over again. And I hope a lot of our listeners can get involved. Thank you so much, guys. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And to our listeners, this has been a Minority Voices Liberia presentation. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Bye.